Welcome to the BumbleKast, everyone. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is that new sensation sweeping the nation, Kyle Kraus.
Hi.
How are you doing, sensational Kyle?
I am doing very well. I am spinning wild and free. I don't know what that means.
I don't think anyone else is either. They're going, how is this a lead into the topic? You'll see.
It's not. It's not. Don't worry. Don't even think. Don't even try to think about it. Don't even try to come up with a segue because it'll work. Oh, hey, segue. There's another fad. Anyway, how are you doing, Ian?
I am just bubbling full of positive energy.
That's
I just
good.
got back from Heroes Con down in Charlotte, North Carolina. I got to see a whole bunch of regulars who've been coming by for, I think the past 10 years or so.
Man, that's dedication.
Yeah. There's these little kids who, well, they were little kids when
Not
they first
anymore.
came to the show. And now they're kind of looking down. It's like, hi, Mr. Flynn. It's like, hi. Excuse me while I get my walker out and look for my gums. Yes, the gums,
Yes.
so I can plug the teeth in after the gums.
Yes.
I met some new folks who, there was this one guy in particular who had never heard of the Sonic book and was rather chagrined to find out it had been going on for 25 years and, was describing specific scenes he had just recently read that he really enjoyed. I'm like, fresh commentary. That's so nice.
Yeah. Although I'm wondering, how did it get by? How did it get by him? I do not know. Or
There's still people who didn't know there was a
Sonic
Mega
fan?
Man comic. And
Well,
that went
yeah.
to have issues, so.
That's true. People who think that Dreamwave was the last Mega Man comic, whoop, well, you missed a lot.
And that show was also where we announced an upcoming brand new project by me and Sonic alum Adam Bryce Thomas called Drogoon. It is a science fantasy epic that will hopefully come out sometime later this year. We were aiming to launch it this summer, but, life got in the way.
I hate life.
But if you head over to BumbleKing.com, you can find the teaser page with some sample art by him. He was saying, we need to promote this, right now. I'm like, well, we don't have a lot to show for it. He's like, I'll do some art. I'm like, well, I can't help with the printing. And he's like, I'll do it. I'm like, all right, fine, man. I will piggyback off you as long as you want. And, the art he did for it is absolutely gorgeous. So stay tuned to BumbleKing.com or my Twitter, and there will be news when there is news.
Awesome. Always glad.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be neat.
Always glad for more Bumble King projects. It's nice.
And this year I was going to really take it easy on the shows because, don't really have the means of traveling and doing a lot of them. And then that changed.
Uh-oh.
Very much. We had, what was it, Toronto Comic-Con earlier this year, around March, I think it was. Just got back from Heroes Con. This June 30th, so just a few days after you're listening to this, I'm going to be in Denver for Denver Comic-Con. Then a couple months later, I'm going to be doing Fan Expo Toronto in August. And then you're going to be finding me at Super Famicom down in Greensboro in November. So, so much for taking it easy this year.
Well, at least they're relatively well spaced out for the most part, except
This is true.
for Heroes Con in Denver.
Yeah, and Denver, they, scouted me really hardcore. And they're like, we will pay the whole way. We'll give you a hotel. We'll give you
Wow.
the airplane. Just come on down and be pretty. And I'm like, well, I can't really do the pretty part, but I can come on down. And
oh, come on. You sell yourself short.
actually, given how low Toronto is in Ontario, I might be going up to Denver, technically. Sideways.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
I will be in Denver. That's the point.
Well, I mean, you're going to be heading southeast, or it'd be southwest. Yeah.
Yeah, am I going south?
You're going southwest.
I don't have a map.
You're going in my direction, but you're not going all the way.
Yeah, okay. So if you're looking for my table number, and I'm doing a whole slew of panels for that show, check out BumbleKing.com. It's all up on the Bumble calendar, and all sorts of goodness and info and what have you.
Very nice.
My website actually has news you can go to now. It's not just a static, resume.
Very nice. I don't have any conventions I'm going to. Although maybe
why not?
Well,
it's almost like you work every day like a normal human being.
Jeez, it sucks. Don't ever be normal. Recommendation for you. Don't ever be normal. It sucks. I might go to Game On Expo in August. I don't know why it's in August. It's the freaking hottest time of the year.
Yeah, and you're already at what, like
going to Phoenix?
100?
Right now it's it's getting up to over 115 here in Phoenix. It's lovely.
No.
It's fun. It's exciting. It's
Absolutely not.
115 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, and then August. Yeah, it's going to be about the same in August, I think. Pretty close to it.
I refuse to acknowledge that. Nope. No.
But Game On Expo, I went last year, was pretty fun. So they're moving to a bigger venue this year. Maybe I'll go to that one too. But they put on a pretty decent event, so maybe I'll go there this year. So hey, if you're in the Phoenix area and you go to Game On Expo in Phoenix, maybe I'll be there in August. I don't know. We'll see.
A couple of shows I'm actually going to have to miss out on. There was, what was the name of it? It was the most recent Sonic-centric show. It ran for one day. Nerds, what was it called?
Sonic. Wasn't that the anniversary? No, that wasn't the anniversary.
No. Well, it was the one that had like a whole bunch of Sonic artists and Aaron Weber and Mike Pollock, and it was this huge collection of Sonic stuff. And they wanted me to come, and I would have loved to go, but I would have had to have flown all the way to the West Coast, done the show for a day, flown back, immediately gotten in the car, drove 14 hours down to Charlotte, do a show for 3 days, drive another 14 hours back, and then go to Denver. Can't do it. Not within my ability. And unfortunately, Super Famicom is overlapping with Sonic and Sega Fan Jam, which I did last year. And it was a great little show. Wish I could do it, but I can't be in two places at once.
Super Famicom. That's clever.
Oh, I love the name.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's great.
If you are the guys who organize those shows, or if you are people who wanted to see me there, I am so sorry I can't make it. I wish I could. Maybe next year I can focus on going to the Sonic-centric shows more. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, there's so many freaking shows now. It's crazy. They're going on everywhere all the time. Gaming conventions, comic conventions, concerts, festivals. It's like really insane. Anime conventions. Just
you realize what this means?
Crazy. Right? How much do we have to go? Do we have to go on the Bumble tour?
We have to host the BumbleCon.
Yeah, we could do that.
We can have all the guests that have ever been on the show, like you and me. We can have
and all the
celebrity appearances, like you and me.
We can have the patrons.
Yeah.
The patrons will be there.
Sure. I'm sure they can travel all that way. Why not?
I hope. Come on, patrons. You'll be there, right? Right? Anyway.
But that's enough, John, about that. It's time to get on to the BumbleRaffle.
Yeah.
Now, the BumbleRaffle is a contest we have on every episode where a random person is selected and they win a prize. If you're a patron over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, you are automatically entered into every drawing. Otherwise, you have to write in to BumbleKast@yahoo.com for each episode you want to be entered into. Everybody's got the same chance. It's just the patrons get auto-entered. So, this episode's winner is...
Diane W.
Welcome aboard, Diane. We will be contacting you with your prize options soon.
Awesome.
So, you had a fun idea for today's topic.
I was partially joking, and then I realized, oh, this could actually possibly be a thing. Because for some reason, randomly, when we were discussing topic ideas, I randomly threw out fidget spinners. And I realized, wait, we could actually kind of talk about something like that.
About the fads that have captured the attention of the youth across the years.
Indeed. We have been subject to many of them. We have played a part in many of them.
Oh, yeah, we have.
Yes.
Now, when we were on the road, I did see some Batarang-shaped fidget spinners, and I was tempted. I'm not going to lie. I've
seen some of those, too, and they look pretty cool.
But they were like bright blue and neon green. I'm like, that's not Batman.
No. You need the black and yellow.
Right. It needs to be authentic the way Batman.
Or at least gray and blue. Got to be something.
Now, I did see a video, and I'm not 100% sure this wasn't doctored. But a guy with an acoustic guitar spinning a fidget spinner and using that to pluck the strings like an auto pick. And playing a really high-tempo song. It looked cool. It sounded authentic. But it also looks like something that's very, very easy to pantomime and then just dub over. So I don't know. Because if that is legit, that's really cool.
That's a pretty creative use for it. And it could probably be done. I don't see why it couldn't be. Anything like that could probably be used for that. So, makes sense to me.
Now, the kid who had one that lit up and flashed during Wonder Woman could put that away.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I think they're pretty neat. A lot of people kind of, poo-poo on them. Like, oh, it's like the end of the world. Now people are, I don't know, why would it be the end of the world? But apparently it is.
Those darn kids wasting their money on some frivolity.
Yeah.
In my day, we had Pogs.
Yes, I was going to say, we did the same crap when we were kids. We had the same kind of thing. And you could argue that the things that we had were even more useless.
Yeah.
Because at least a fidget spinner was designed to be used as something for people who have, fidgety hands, or have the need to be like constantly moving their hands. And this is a thing. It's a legitimate thing. And personally, it's something that I actually do deal with. I tend to like grab something and start playing with it with my hands, whether it's just like a pen or something, just taking the cap on and off. So legitimate use for that, to keep your hands occupied while you're doing something, or even just while you're thinking. So I can see legitimate uses for that. So
you can apparently play guitar with it, and it makes for a great cat toy. I mean, it has multiple uses.
Sure. It's a fad. It will probably, it'll pass, most likely, at some point, just to be replaced by something else. But it's relatively harmless. There's really not a big issue with it, for me, personally.
I think it's more the collectability that seems to just permeate all of these fads. Like,
right.
Did you have slap bracelets, or was that before your time?
Yeah, actually, I do remember that. Slap bracelets were a thing for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't so much the novelty of a bracelet that puts itself on you. It was that they came in a variety of patterns, a variety of textures, a variety of lengths.
Right.
And at our school, we almost had like this underground dealership ring going on where it's like, I don't know, this is one of these low quality ones. You stand a chance of the wire popping out and poking you. Now this cheetah print here, this one cost you a full $5. This is premium slap bracelet, let me tell you what.
Now I'm just imagining like the New York street salesman with like a like a selection of slap bracelets. Like, hey, I'm slap braceleting here.
Psst, psst. Hey kid, you want a slap bracelet? I'm gonna open up my coat. Don't call the cops. Never mind them Rolexes. That's cheap stuff. This right here, yeah, this has got a rainbow pattern. I see a eye in it. Tell you what, I like you. You seem like a good kid. I give it for you 25 cents.
This character is amazing. It's great. I love it.
Just keeps updating his stuff every fad.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot of fidget spinners in there now. But yeah, it just keeps going through with it. That'd be awesome.
I think one that I remember that never really took off was, I think it was called Monster in My Pocket.
Yes, that is a thing.
And they were like little monochromatic soft rubber B-movie monsters.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit before my time, but there have been similar things throughout the years. But yeah, I do know those, and those are pretty cool. So
I seem to remember they had like a number on the bottom for some kind of rudimentary tabletop game, but I never found any rule sets for it.
Huh. Yeah, I don't remember any of that. I do know that there was an NES game of Monster in My Pocket, and it's actually a pretty decent game, all things considered. It's an NES Konami game, so it's likely to be at least fairly decent. And the music is good. The music is great. So, I mean, that's really the only the only sort of window I have into them, though. Unfortunately, I think that was before my time, really. The first fad I can really remember is Pogs. I'm sure there was something before that.
Oh, sure.
But I can't remember that. And I think for me that was around 3rd grade, so I would have been about 9 years old. So that's the first one I can really remember. But there must have been something before then that I just either don't remember or just didn't get on board with. I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember what came before Pogs, because Pogs were big.
Pogs were huge.
Especially the slammers. Ba-da-bum-bum.
Yeah, Pogs were huge.
My folks never let me get into Pogs, and that's probably for the best, because I have a bad enough tendency to be a collector of things. And boy, howdy were Pogs collectible.
Yes, they were. I had a small collection of them, though. I never dove deep into these fads, really. But I do know the kids who did, and they carried around backpacks full of Pogs.
Oh, that's what it was. Trading cards. Before Pogs, at least where I was, it was trading cards, and specifically my group of friends, Marvel and X-Men trading cards. I think specifically X-Men. Because that's when X-Men got the kind of Claremont reboot, and they were really kicking up big. It was when they were just throwing out characters left and right to see what would stick. And so they would have these huge slews of cards, not just characters, but teams and swimsuit variant cards, and collect all the cards to create this triptych montage. And you could fill entire books of these things. And folks that I didn't even normally associate with, I wasn't cool enough to talk to them, apparently. We would be interacting over these cards and looking at them, trading with, oh, this one's got a typo. That makes it super rare. And I remember that.
Yeah, that definitely, I think, was before, must have been either a slightly older age group than where I was at that time. Because there's a really big difference, surprisingly, between like 2nd grade and 4th grade. Mm-hmm. It's kind of strange. I think you were a couple years older than me, so you had a slightly different path through some of these early fads, especially. But the ones I remember were like, dang it, I can't remember what the brand was, but having lights in your shoes, that was cool for a while. Yeah, the light up shoes.
Before the light up shoes, there were the Air Jordans, where they had a little press button cushion on the tongue of the shoe that built up air pressure that tightened the shoes around your feet.
Yeah.
Those were huge. If you didn't have those, you were scum. You were not allowed to walk on the same earth.
Yeah. I mostly remember the light-up shoes. I always thought the light-up shoes were cooler.
They still have them.
I know they're still around. I mean, it's really easy to just stuff an LED into a shoe and have it last forever. Nowadays, back then it was a little more difficult and not as much batteries were a little bit less. The longevity of batteries back then was a little lacking. But nowadays, you could just stuff it in there and it'll last forever.
I'm tempted to bring up Pokemon cards because they ruled the school grounds the minute they hit the market. But they're not really a fad. Fad comes and goes. Pokemon cards are still a big deal. There's huge tournaments. They're still going around on the playgrounds.
Right, and it's the same with Magic cards. I actually remember Magic cards before Pokemon cards. My timeline could be skewed on that.
No, they came first.
But I think that, I remember Magic cards first. And Magic, of course, is still around and huge. It's a big Wizards of the Coast thing. So, but I think there was a point where both of those things were definitely a lot hotter than they are now. True. So I think they go through like kind of a fad phase. And then it kind of settles down into just some of the more hardcore people kind of sticking with it afterwards. But the thing about Pokemon is it's kind of become a huge franchise that's nearly ubiquitous in various forms of media.
Right.
So I think Nintendo actually really got, they really got on board well with that. And
I'm just saying, you're more likely to find someone who's still dealing in Magic cards than they are in Pogs.
Right. That's very true. There were definitely fads that had a bit more legs under them than other fads. Well, look at video games.
They're not a fad, they're a way of life. Well, come on, Kyle.
Yes, they are now. But when video games were first a thing, they were assumed they were a fad. And then when the video game market crash of 1983 happened, that was like, well, the fad's over. It's done. No one's interested in video games anymore. The industry is practically dead. No one wants to play video games at home. So I guess that's it. It was a fad, and the fad is over. The bubble has burst. Obviously, Nintendo proved that wrong. Although at the time, I do remember a lot of older adults saying that, oh, it's just a fad. These kids are into video games, but they'll grow out of it and they'll get over it. No, turns out video games have become another way to consume media and to enjoy, stories or enjoy off time or whatever. It's not just a fad, but it was originally seen as such. So there are definitely a lot of things that were perceived as a fad that ended up having some real legs under them that outlasted the fad phase that was kind of expected of them. I think Pokemon is kind of that thing too. Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely. So what we really are getting down to is we're waiting for the Pog revival. Because I will do it. I will totally get on board.
That is entirely possible. It could actually happen.
Bumble King branded Pogs. You heard it here first, folks.
We could do that. As
soon as that bandwagon starts flaming and rolling down that hill, we will jump on and enjoy the burn.
Oh yeah. We gotta have a Bumble King fidget spinner.
I mean, it looks like there's just an individual Bumble King on each blade, but when you spin it, it says, please subscribe.
It just has the URL to the YouTube when you spin it. It shows it. It's like, yes! Free advertising.
Little bitty holes in it, and as it spins, it actually whistles out the theme. I don't know if that would actually work.
This is amazing. What's that? If that would work? I don't think it would. I don't think it would. You'd have to spin it much slower than they're usually spun. Otherwise, it just come out really fast and be like, well, it's gone now.
Played at different speeds. Hours of entertainment.
Ah, yes. Perfect. They're just little ball bearings in metal housings. It's kind of a genius invention, really.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What other modern fads can we think of? I guess, like, maybe... I don't know. It's not really I don't know if kids are into it so much, but Funko Pops are pretty huge.
And that was one of the disappointing things about Heroes Con is usually the vendors have all sorts of things, old action figures and vintage comics and nifty, sharp, pointy objects that you probably shouldn't be selling to children. And this year, not only did they get rid of all the sharp, pointy things and all that fun stuff, but it was 50% Funko Pop.
Yeah, Phoenix Comic Con a year ago kind of had that issue too. It was like, well, I'm not really into Funkos, so, but that's just a personal thing, but it's like, they're the only thing that sells, so I guess it's the only thing people bother to bring now.
I mean, I get the appeal, because I've been tempted by one or two myself.
Sure.
And there's a OCD part of me that enjoys the fact that you have this huge slew of characters across multiple franchises, and they all fit within a certain parameter, so they're all neat and tidy. They all fit in the right way. And I had to laugh because there was somebody at the show as we were packing up and heading out. They had a Funko Pop Wonder Woman, and she was sitting in a proportionately styled invisible jet. And I've seen a Marty McFly in a proportionate DeLorean.
Yeah. I've seen that one too.
It's fun. They're toys. They're definitely collectible, but at the same time, I'm not really into them a lot. And if you are, I'm so glad you are, because boy, do you have a selection to choose from.
Oh, yeah. Personally, for me, the aesthetic doesn't really appeal to me, but I can definitely see their appeal. Because, man, I don't know, they just like scoop up licenses left and right. And it's kind of brilliant, actually, because there are so many licenses where collectible things wouldn't ever really happen. Like,
right.
Why would certain people care about a certain, or why would most people care about a certain franchise that either like died ages ago or was never all that popular to begin with? Funko picks it up, makes even a limited run of them. Suddenly they're either hugely popular or they're hugely rare, and people are hunting them down like crazy, and they're actually thinking about these franchises that have either been dead for years or just never really caught on so much. Or it's kind of a brilliant marketing move, and it's a good way to get merchandise for things that otherwise, honestly, probably would never have any sort of merchandise. So in that way, I can understand it, but I don't much care for the look of them.
I've seen people legitimately mad because they are fundamentally opposed to the Funko Pops, but their favoriteest thing ever, the only merchandise of it, is Funko Pops. And they're going, do I give in? I want the thing, but I don't want the thing. And it's like, I feel your pain.
Right.
I understand. I'm so sorry.
Right. They're also kind of relatively inexpensive if you can find them new. So that's kind of another thing. It's like the buy-in is pretty low, so you don't have to necessarily buy like a $200, $300 high-end figure of something. You just get this cheap little thing of something that you love. So at the same time, they keep the buy-in low, and they get franchises that people, even like just very niche franchises that people still care about. So it's a genius marketing move. Very shrewd.
You said that, and I immediately thought of where the weak chink in my armor was.
Uh-oh.
Because the only piece of merchandise that I'm aware of for Skies of Arcadia is a first four-figure statue of Vice holding the flag. It looks gorgeous. It's at least $250, if not more.
Right. And there's a lot of
and it's a limited run.
Yeah.
I can't just grab that. For that kind of money, I could probably pick up the entire cast in Funko Pops if they made them.
Right. That's the...
Funko Pop, if you're listening, don't do that. Please. Please don't do that. I have no room in my house. Don't. I am weak. I have no self-control. Give him to me. I need some. I need some. Funko.
Yeah, don't let them hear this.
What about you? What would it take to make you break down and give in?
Oh, to buy Funkos? Well, actually, I was gifted Funko Pops like years ago. Sonic and Tails. I don't have them anymore.
That doesn't count. That's a gift. I mean, what makes you spend your hard-earned money?
What would make me buy them?
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, it probably would be like Sonic and Tails. Just like, well, I already had them. I don't need them anymore.
Aha! I've got it. This is their next step to world domination. Custom ordered Funko Pops.
Yeah, that would be neat.
You pay a higher premium, but they make rhythm or trance out of KNGI.
Yeah, I'm down. I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything immediate because they really already covered the whole gamut of things that I would be interested in. They've never done Mario, but Mario figures finally are a thing. So
yeah, Nintendo's been really stingy on their licenses in general.
Yeah, but they finally realized, oh, we can actually sell stuff of our characters, and people will give us money for them. What a concept!
Yeah, but they're all like the super expensive D-Arts ones that look so amazing, but they cost like $100.
No, the World of Nintendo figures aren't that expensive. They're not super amazing, but they're decent.
But their distribution drives me crazy. I found a Fox McCloud, no problem.
Sure.
I could be swimming in Slippy Toads if I so desired. It's not that hard to find a Peppy Hare. Falco never showed up on the shelves. It's like $40 plus online. I have 3 members of the Star Fox crew, and I'm missing the best one. That ain't fair.
That does suck. I do have some of the vintage Mario stuff because there was like the Happy Meal toys from the early 90s and some of the other stuff that my mom recently gave me because she found them in a box. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about these. But it took Nintendo a really long time to figure out that, yeah, we could sell toys. We should be a toy company like we were 100 years ago. We could do it. It's like, oh yeah, you guys have like legendary licenses that have outlasted like most things. So, yeah, get on that. They finally figured it out with Amiibo, which, speaking of a fad...
Yeah, I think some of the fervor died down once the distribution stopped being stupid.
Yeah, and it was the fervor was considerable for a while. But I think that is part of it. Like, people were mostly in it for the hunt, and when the hunt became not that fun, they kind of just exited out. They're like, it's not worth it anymore. I can just go into a store and find what I want. That's no fun.
On the one hand, I am glad that it's easier to find what I want.
Sure.
But I do kind of miss the hunt, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Going downtown, stopping into an EB, finding 2 rare Sonics, hopping on Facebook going, does anybody need a Sonic? I found it. First come, first serve. You know, it's like every store could be the Holy Grail.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore, really, unless you're like looking for some of the more recent Breath of the Wild figures. Even then, people don't seem to care as much. Even though those are really pretty amiibo. They look really good.
Yeah, well, I have to get the Majora's Mask Link because I need that fierce deity in Breath of the Wild. This needs to happen.
I have not seen any of them, and it makes me sad. I did see the 25th or 30th anniversary. It's the 30th anniversary ones. I think I have the Ocarina of Time and the 8-bit Link one, which I like the 8-bit Link one and the 8-bit Mario. They go good. They go well together.
Honestly, the 8-bit Link kind of freaks me out. When you blow up the pixel art like that, it just looks like this haunting, screaming mask, and I don't need to take that one. Thank you. You can have it.
Yeah, the voxels are the voxel look is kind of weird, but yeah, I still kind of dig it. It's still fun for me. So, but yeah, fads come and go. I think fidget spinners won't be a huge thing forever. So if
Oh,
you're
they'll be
worried
done
about
by
the
the end of the year.
if you're worried about the downfall of civilization hinging on fidget spinners, look back at the history of fads like this and you'll see the downfall of civilization was years ago. I mean, you'll be fine.
Those darn kids spinning that hoop with a stick, it's the downfall of civilization.
Those dang hula hoops and hopscotch.
There were Australopithecus angry that the kids were playing with that shiny rock. When will they get their heads on straight?
When will they learn? Nature. When will they learn those rocks don't mean anything?
Well, just as fads are going to come and go, I think we have reached the end of this topic. And now that we've shelled out for a bunch of companies that don't listen to the show and aren't going to give us a cent, you too can have your ad on the show. Come over to patreon.com/BumbleKast and have your spot on this show for a very nominal fee.
Yes, indeed. You can come on over, patreon.com/BumbleKast, and we'll be there. And we'll be there to read your ad. You can read ads. We'll read whatever you want. We'll advertise your fidget spinner enterprise. We'll do it. I swear.
Your fidget spinner pog crossover thingy.
Fidget spinners with...
Fidget pogs.
Yes. Fidget spinners with pogs attached to the outer bearing so you get double the spin.
Yeah, why not? That'd be pretty cool.
Double spin. That's what I want.
Another incentive we have over on the Patreon is priority in the Q&A section of the show. Now, you can ask us pretty much anything, either by email, BumbleKast@yahoo.com, on Twitter @IanFlynnPKC or @KyleJCRB with the hashtag BumbleKast. Please use the hashtag BumbleKast. That makes it much easier for us to find the questions. Or if you're a patron, just post it anywhere on the patron page. We'll see it.
Indeed. And if you've never listened to the BumbleKast before, welcome. And if you've never listened to it and are asking Ian questions, Ian will usually say as such, like, hey.
That would be a great question for the BumbleKast.
Indeed.
And Why don't you ask that to the BumbleKast? And I'm going to forward this to the BumbleKast.
And people will be like, what's a BumbleKast? And then you have to explain that to them, and now it's just like this big thing. And then people are like, well, I don't want to have to listen to a whole podcast to hear my questions. It's like, great, you don't. You don't have to listen to the whole podcast. We have a fancy link you can click to go directly to the Q&A in every episode. So there you go.
And because this keeps coming up and because I've been having to reference specific episodes, I'm just going to make this part of every episode until it's resolved.
Let's do it.
The ongoing question is, what is happening with the Archie Sonic comic? The official word is Archie Comics and Sega are discussing the future of the book. That's it. There is no more public information. There is nothing more to be said on the topic. I don't know anymore. You don't know anymore. Nobody knows anymore. And we'll all find out together.
Yes.
And this way, every time somebody asks, which is about twice a day, I can just say, listen to the BumbleKast. So, problem solved.
Closed door corporate dealings. That is what is happening with the Sonic comic.
All right, so let's move on to the priority Q&A.
All right, this first one comes from our good buddy, Mike B. Do any of the freedom fighters have childhood fears, even fears from before Eggman invaded?
Oh, sure. Antoine especially. I don't have a comprehensive list off the very top of my head, but I guess you could cite one immediately as Tails has a fear of lightning. That's established in the canon.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
That would be kind of neat to delve into if I ever got the opportunity, is to go back and see the kids and what they were afraid of before their whole world got turned upside down and they had to grow up quick.
Life got flipped, turned upside down, said they're moving with their auntie and uncle in Knothole.
Doesn't quite match the meter.
It doesn't work. No, doesn't work. Next one comes from Sam Cybercut. Is there any chance of Matilda the Armadillo coming back? I assume that since we've not seen her in the reboot, that she can't be used, but wanted to ask to just know for definite.
Oh, Tilly. Tilly's special because she was this one piece of really obscure comic trivia that I got to spin out into probably one of the bigger fan favorites for such a minor character. Her design was really cool. I think she was done by Ben Bates.
That guy
and
does
the
good
arms
work.
are a...
That guy does good work.
Yep. And she was a nice homage to The Big O, which was a fun anime. But the key thing there is that she is a piece of Sonic trivia from before my time, specifically introduced as a concept by a particular writer, shall we say. And because of that, said particular writer would most likely lay claim to her because he introduced the core concept. Not the name, not the design, not the characterization, not the backstory. Doesn't matter. The nugget was there and most likely would be claimed. So, because that is a potential legal problem, yes, Matilda is confined with all the other pre-reboot stuff.
I'm just glad that Nicole managed to sneak through on a technicality.
Nicole's free and clear.
Well, her anthropomorphized design was pre-reboot, though, and was before your time.
Technically true, but let's not get into that.
Right. It's a very tenuous thing.
Let's not pull on that thread as we walk away and unravel that sweater.
But at the same time, she is kind of a grandfathered in character, so yeah, I guess there's some give and take there. All right, and this last priority Q&A comes from Chris A. Since DC Comics, Marvel, and Shonen Jump have a rebirth, why not have Archie Sonic have a rebirth as well?
That was a reboot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, it already happened, dude. Unless, like, they're thinking specifically the DC Comics rebirth, which I think is like a rebirth of all the universes combined. I'm not sure.
I've not followed it myself, but
it's
basically a reapproaching of all the properties under their umbrella, and
yeah, I might be
that's
thinking
basically that's what the reboot was. It was, okay, we can't do the comic as we were doing, so we're just going to approach Sonic as Sonic in a different direction, and there you go.
I might be thinking of Convergence, which I think was received very poorly, but
or 0 Hour, or Crisis on Infinite Earths, or
Crisis on Infinite Earths just wiped everything out except for one universe, and then they're like, I should say, then they hired a bunch of people who grew up before Crisis on Infinite Earths, and people were like, but I want to use all those old things. So they had to bring them all back. Comics are fun.
Yeah, they are.
All right, let's get into the standard Q&A on this episode of the BumbleKast. Here's one from Boosalarian Theme. Were the love hearts in Thunderbolt's eyes and Eggman's dozen something you put in the script, or just an artist's elaboration?
I had to go back and check the script on this one because I couldn't remember.
Uh-oh.
That was Adam. That was his little added bonus to it all.
Okay. Because I think
it was adorable. It was hilarious.
I think this stems from people who are wondering if Thunderbolt sees Eggman romantically or just...
No.
Yeah.
I think we covered that in a previous
We did.
BumbleKast.
I think this is actually a follow-up question from Boosalarian Theme.
Just to, review that answer, it was, she would never think herself worthy of Eggman's romantic affection. She just adores him for the evil, manipulative, conquering despot that he is.
I mean, nobody is... I don't think anybody's good enough for Robotnik, so... Or Eggman, whatever you want to call him this week. Nobody's good enough for him, so I could see that.
Nobody that he hasn't built yet. Anyway, next question.
Ho-ho! This next one comes from Richard V. Any chance to see Thrash the Devil in the new continuity with a revamped story? It was nice to see a fresh foil for Knuckles, and he was a great design.
I feel like we've answered this one too, but Thrash, here's the problem with Thrash. He did have a great design. Major props to Tracy for taking my insane idea and making it work. That insane idea was that if you play Sonic and Knuckles solo, and you toggle between Sonic and Knuckles on the character select screen, there's the briefest moment where their sprites kind of fuse into a purpley, long-spined thing. That was the basis for Thrash's design.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get more obscure than that. The problem with Thrash is that his motivation was tied very, very tightly to the old continuity's history of the echidnas. And to revamp that entirely would more or less be writing a new character. So if I'm going to put all the effort into revamping him into something that is legally standalone, why not just go ahead and make a new character? It's kind of the same reason why folks say, well, why don't you just bring Scourge back and give him a different color, different coat of paint? It's because if you do so much to make them legally and creatively distinct, you might as well put that energy into making something new.
Right. You can come up with another evil Sonic. I mean,
yeah.
It's not like it's not like that concept is copyright yet. Maybe.
It depends on how you approach it. I think.
But to be honest, an evil Sonic is like one of the most trite things you could do at this point.
It breaks my heart.
And there are so many like rivals and different Sonic like characters now that it's almost moot to really explore that so much, to me.
Yeah. And it breaks my heart too, because Thrash, because of circumstances, did not have the character arc that I wanted, and got saddled with so much baggage. Is just oh well. So it goes.
It's a shame. And finally, the last question comes from Chaos Saber Moo, which I must say is a delightful name.
I absolutely adore that screen name.
I don't know what it is about it, but Chaos Saber Moo, it's incredible.
It's almost like a badly translated attack from Shadow. Chaos Saber Moo. Do you mean like the old Greek letter? No, like a cow.
The images it conjures up are pretty incredible. I'm thinking of
you're the fake bovine around here.
I'm thinking of like an armored cow with a sword.
That would be amazing. We are not making fun of you, Chaos Saber.
No, we are not. We actually love your name. We like never make fun of anyone's name on here. I don't think
absolutely not.
We talk about how awesome your names are, and when we talk about how awesome your names are, we're being really honest with you because Chaos Saber Moo sounds great. Anyway, let's get into their question. If you could write for another game series that isn't anything Nintendo, Sega, or Capcom, what would you write for?
Very good question. Oh, shoot. First thing that springs to mind is Castlevania. Now, whether that would be a direct adaptation of the entire Belmont legacy, or a new chapter, or a spin-off, or whatever, I think you could... That's a very rich bit of dirt to dig into.
Oh, yeah. And it's... the timeline for that's actually really interesting because of how, I guess, consistent it is. I don't know if that's the right word for timeline, but they have a pretty solid set of, like, dates and years you can reflect back on and be like, okay, this happened... Then this happened at that point, and this happened at that point. The games aren't in order, obviously, but they have actually gone out and plotted. They've plotted something that's a lot more, something you can grasp a lot more easily than, like, say, the Zelda timeline.
Right.
It doesn't.
Or dare we say Kingdom Hearts?
It doesn't really split. Although it is kind of funny to me that Bram Stoker's Dracula, the novel, is canon to Castlevania, the game series. But actually, that's kind of cool too. At the same time, so. And you could probably also argue that the Universal movie monster films fit into the Castlevania universe too, just because aesthetically, a lot of the monsters take from those movies. So. It's kind of neat, and I think you could really play a lot with that world. So I would definitely like to see your take on a Castlevania comic.
Rayman would be fun. I really enjoyed Rayman 2.
Rayman is a delightful game series. The new Raymans look beautiful. So a comic,
they're absolutely gorgeous.
A comic in that art style would be amazing. So I'd love to see that. Any other ones you can think of off the top of your head? Franchises you'd love to dabble with?
Franchises. And I'm trying to think, that isn't Nintendo or Sega or Capcom.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get my hands on something to do with one of the Tales of series, whether it's an adaptation or, dare I say, write an entire new scenario within the tropes of the series.
Sure.
I mean, I want to write an RPG in general, so
yeah,
that's the closest I'm probably would ever going to get, even though I won't get within arm's reach of it.
I can
and
see
kind of along that lines, something along the lines of a Final Fantasy,
Mm-hmm. I can see you doing something fun with a comic based on Team Fortress 2.
Yeah. I don't know if I have the same level of dark humor that those guys have, because the TF2 comic that's going on very slowly right now is an absolute joy to read when it updates.
Yeah.
And I feel like it thinks in a different direction than I can. It's like, oh, that's neat. I wish I could do that.
There's already a comic for it, but I could also see you doing really fun things playing around in the world of Overwatch. So,
yeah, I am woefully behind on that lore, but it looks like something that would be very easy to dive into and get lost in, and just the story potentials would be out the window.
It is very, very comic booky in all of the right ways. It is
out the window, out the wazoo. Pick your W words.
Yeah,
really.
It's it's amazing. Just like all these disparate characters you think wouldn't work together. It's like you could really come up with individual comic story arcs for each one. You could have individual comics for every character, I think, in that universe, and they would all be fascinating. So there's definitely a lot to play around with there.
This one goes against the criteria of the question, but it's this very clear vision I've had for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just the promo image. A crossover between Marvel Comics' Frank Castle, the Punisher, and Capcom's Dead Rising's Frank West. And the image I see, clear as day, is the logo with various body parts and dead zombies kind of strewn around it. Frank's got this big old machine gun, and he's kind of looking back at West with this look of confusion and disgust. While West has a bloodied baseball bat on one shoulder and a camera in his hand, and he's grinning over at Frank and says, "I've covered wars, you know." And I would just love to. It would be great. It works so easily.
Holy crap.
I want to retell the first Dead Rising, but with Frank West in the mix. Have him go up against the other crazy Vietnam vet who's, killing people in the hardware store. Have him and Frank West debate about how to handle certain things when, the revelations begin to mount about where the zombies come from and who to trust, and, kill Isabella for being involved or let her live so that Frank doesn't become a zombie. And it writes itself. It'd be amazing.
It really does. Holy crap. I did not think about this at all before, but it's so good. And
why is Frank West in Willamette? He's hunting down some serial killer, rapist, whatever. Doesn't matter. He's in the town when the zombie outbreak happens.
You keep saying Frank West. I think you see some Frank Castle, you mean?
Frank Castle. Yeah, the Franks. Both Franks.
The Franks. Just call the comic The Franks.
But
man.
Yeah,
it could happen. I mean, Meets the Punisher is a very common thing. Or was. Dead Rising meets the Punisher. That's both companies have a relationship too. It's very possible to do. It's so possible to do. It would be glorious.
And I feel like there's a ton of franchises that I'm forgetting off the top of my head that would be, really fun to write for.
Oh yeah.
And there's a bajillion indie games out there that I either have like a passing knowledge of or no knowledge of that would be fantastic, I'm sure, if I just dug into the lore. So,
Shovel Knight we've mentioned before. Shantae, I think, would be a lot of fun as a comic.
Easily.
And a bunch of other ones out there that are just they're rife for taking on as comic books. So
maybe one day. I mean, I got my Sonic, I got my Mega Man. You never know.
Yeah. I hope so. Fingers crossed. So that's going to do it for this Q&A on this edition of the BumbleKast, and that will also do it for this edition of the BumbleKast.
If you want to follow up on what's going on in my life, such as all the comic conventions ever, and upcoming new comic projects, including Dragoon and possibly other things, go to BumbleKing.com or follow me on Twitter at IanFlynnBKC.
Or if you're interested in what I'm doing, you can hit me up on Twitter at KyleJCRB, or head on over to kngi.org, where you can find archived MP3 downloads of this show and many others, including my regular weekly video game music remix podcast, Nitro Game Injection, which streams live every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 8bitx.com, YouTube at youtube.com/KyleJCRB, or Facebook Live at facebook.com/KNGI Network.
Before we say goodbye, we're going to give a big shout out to all the patrons who continue to make this show successful. You guys are Herculean. You're amazing. Thank you so much to Daniel H., Zephyr Flame, Chris A., Damo, John B., Sam Cybercat, Mike B., Connell T., Samuel P., Justin G., Jennifer R., Diane W., congratulations yet again, blah, blah, blah. Chevelle, Dawn B., Clinton H., Andrew F., Frogman, Ken Delicious Cartoons, John M., S. Yavanovich 9X, Alex P., and James K.
Man, that list eventually is going to get so long that we won't be able to do the entire thing every episode.
Oh, we will, because you people are the reason why we are still doing this for 3 seasons.
That's true.
We will acknowledge every single one of you, even if it adds a full 30 minutes to the show.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Man, it's going to be really long. We'll have to take turns.
I may sound like this by the end of it, but you will be acknowledged.
We have to do that. We have to do this. It's too important. Now, if we get like hundreds of thousands of people all of a sudden out of nowhere, it might be a little difficult, but we'll figure something out.
Then we might have to add like another tier of want to be mentioned on the show, but we're far away from that.
Yeah. We'll deal with that if it comes up. But yes, I'm glad to see that list growing, and I am hugely, hugely thankful for all your patronage. You guys are excellent. We love you.
That's going to wrap it up for BumbleKast episode 46. Y'all have a wonderful evening now, you hear?
Yeehaw!
Another incentive we have over the Patreon is priority.
Q&A.
Q&A. Let's start that over. I sound like an idiot. Hi there, and thanks for listening to the BumbleKast. If you liked our show, be sure to hit the subscribe button and consider supporting us on Patreon. We have some great rewards as well as big plans on how to make the show even better. Also, rate and review our show on iTunes. It gets more folks listening and helps us out, so we definitely appreciate it. Original music composed by Ken Coda Snyder, used with permission. Find more of his music at bc.s3m.us and find the theme song at noisechanradio.bandcamp.com, available as a pay-what-you-want download.
You hear me now?
I can.
Excellent. I feel like I just woke up. Probably because I did. I took a few minute nap.
Few quotation marks.
Yes, as in between the time that I told you I had the show notes ready and 5 minutes ago, I laid down for a bit.
Sometimes you just need to go into the Odin sleep.
Pretty much.